Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to our CCMA Community Chat Series, which we are delighted once again to welcome Dr. May, Yu Mei Tan, Dr. May for short. And this is our second in a series of 3 webinars that we are hosting with VHI. And for those of you who were on the first one, we actually ran a little poll and asked what were the next topic you would like to speak about, or like Dr. May to speak about, and the topic of nutrition was the one that came top of the list. So that's what we'll be speaking about today. I was just saying before he came on, I couldn't tell Dr. May what I had for my lunch because I feel too guilty. So I badly need this webinar at this stage to stop eating rubbish at lunchtime. So before I hand over to Dr. May, just to remind all of you, and I think I've said it on a couple of these webinars, but we're actually running a really good competition at the moment, trying to bring a bit of fun into everybody's lives. And we've got a beautiful, I'll just show it to you here, prize of a headset, which hopefully you can all see there. A really cool headset that Plantronics Poly have given us, a Vhi 445, which I believe is worth over €200. And we're simply asking you to send us a picture of your home office, something a little bit of fun, ideally, just to give us an idea of how you're finding working from home. And that's the individual prize. And then if you want to enter as a team, so a picture or even a short video of your team and how you're all managing to work from home and work remotely, we have a team prize. And again, we'll have to ask Dr. May to close her ears. It's a €100 voucher for pizza. So not the healthiest, I know, but we thought it just might be something that people could look forward to when one of the days if they get to win. So I know Niamh is going to put the link in the chat box there, or the chat section.
That's in there now.
And you can find the link and all the entry details. We've extended it to the end of the month, so you have a couple of weeks. It can be a picture, it can be a video, and there's a blog on the website about it. So if you could spread the word and put in an entry, we'd be delighted to see that. So I know we've people on from Zivas, from Marriott, from New Ireland, from Irish Rail today. So just to encourage all of you, maybe just spread the word and either enter as an individual or enter as a team, and we'd be delighted to see your entry. So we're just gone to just 3 minutes. As you know, we record all these webinars, and certainly put any questions that you have in the little chat box to the right, and we're delighted to take those. And I'll hand over now to Dr. May. Thanks a million as always, Dr. May.
Afternoon, guys, and I'm pretty sure that Dorothy, with your €100 voucher for pizza, there's plenty of pizza going around. And okay, so we're going to talk about you and your nutrition today. Now, just a disclaimer, I am not a dietitian nor a nutritionist, okay? So I'm bringing you the concept of nutrition as a point of a medical opinion more than anything else, just to give you a generalized statement on what nutrition are and what kind of nutrition you'll be hoping to actually consume to make sure that your body keeps well, okay? So why do we human body needs nutrition? Why do we need to eat well? So we need to, number one, needs the food that we eat for wellness, in the sense of, number one, it provides energy. Number two, it actually keeps us warm. How? Very simple. Food is all digested and provides the energy source that we need and keeps our body going. And obviously all the energy you need in that way comes from food. And we're going to go into a different category of nutrition later on. So obviously for children to grow, or for us to grow, and mainly for us growing, obviously sees a certain age, but then we need a constant repair. So your skin sheds every day. So all those kind of things, has to be replenished, and they all comes from food. And then obviously all the nutrition that's needed for us to actually to stay healthy. So I'm talking about all the vitamins. So there are 2 concepts here. So if you look at the classification of food, you can classify it in a different way. I start with 2 very simple ones, just to keep it simple. So micronutrients versus the micronutrients. The macronutrients is mainly your carbohydrate, your protein, your fat, and obviously I put water into that because that you need it on a daily basis. And then obviously the micronutrients then comes into all your minerals and your vitamins. So your iron, iodine, zinc, vitamin B groups, which I'll mention briefly, the folate, and then vitamin A, D, E, and K. Okay, so what does carbohydrate do? You know that for the fact carbohydrate is the main source of energy for all of us. Okay, it keeps the body breathing, obviously alive, for movement, for your warmth, for growth, repair tissues, and obviously starch and the sugar is changed into body fat if we consume too much of it. I'm going to explain that the process of how the body converts into storage, and obviously different types of storage. Then we go further. Protein is needed for cell repair. So every single cells are created, and then obviously they have been programmed to die or when they damage, in the sense of like when you have an injury. So protein is needed. Protein is also a small little source for actually energy. Fat, we all know already, fat is actually very important. Bear in mind, all the cells, the cell membrane, it's actually constituency of fat, okay? So we do need fat in the sense of to build the cell, which is the main entity of a smaller part. Then obviously loads of cells becomes the tissue, loads of tissues become organ. Okay, so but it mainly provides the main concentration of source of energy. It comes from fat, and you do need fat also to absorb, for example, your vitamin A, your vitamin D, your vitamin E, and vitamin K. B and C is water soluble, but A, D, E, and K is fat soluble. So it means that you need fat to actually absorb those vitamins. Okay. Now water, we know that it makes fluids as your tears, your sweat, your urine, and obviously allow chemical processes to happen in the body. Before I go on as well, I forgot to mention carbohydrate actually has two types. You have a normal carbohydrate in a sense, and you also have a complex carbohydrate. You now, without any surprise at all, your fiber comes into a complex carbohydrate. So that dietary fiber itself is extremely important because it makes your stool soft and bulky and absorb all the harmful chemicals. So you heard about the free chemicals that was actually in the body. So your stool is the main absorbent, and obviously then when you pass on to that, then you expel the stool and obviously the harmful chemicals as well. Okay, so it also helps the gut. Very important for the dietary fiber point of view. It also helps the gut to be healthy. So it slows down the digestion and the absorption of nutrition in meals, and it helps prevent obesity. So that's what fiber is for carbohydrate point of view. Now, your micronutrients point of view, your micronutrients, you would have your iron. You know you need iron for your red blood cells. So all the bloods are built for need iron as a heme to be built. Your iodine is really important because it makes your thyroid hormone. Thyroid hormone regulates and help metabolism in your body, and it controls the way how your body works as well. So it is essential for development for your brain and also the nervous system, for the baby. Okay, zinc, for example, is also for development and also for reproduction, and also keep the immune system working properly. So hence, obviously in the COVID-19 situation, you need these micronutrients to maintain your immune system. Vitamin B, we know a lot of issues with vitamin B. Vitamin B has a few classes of those. The much more one that we need is vitamin B6 and vitamin B12. Some of it is quite difficult to absorb through the system. So that's the reason why that it is actually quite good sometimes to have like multivitamins to be taken unless that you are not properly taking your normal food. Folate is important, for a lot of things as well, mainly for building the bloods as well. And then vitamin A, D, E, and K, as I said, they are fat soluble, so you need fat in order to absorb those. Now, bear in mind that they cannot be expelled through your body easily. It has to be used. Okay, so over supplementing your vitamin A, D, and K ultimately can cause toxicity in the body, too much of it, because it cannot be expelled. It has to be used by the body. Okay, right. So this is what had happened. You have a lot of food in your system. Okay, they are all go through a digestive or digestion mechanism. So for example, it needs enzymes. So your saliva is one of them. It needs all the enzymes in your stomach. It breaks down all the food, and ultimately, now there's a little bit complex of certain things convert differently. So ultimately, if you think about it, it becomes glucose. Okay, so glucose is the main form that actually in the bloodstream, and it is carried. But because of too much of glucose that your red blood cells cannot carry, it can become toxin. So in order for glucose to be low down and also safe level in your bloodstream, you need a hormone called insulin. Insulin, as you know yourself, is actually produced by a pancreas. So smaller, if you see the diagram there, pancreas actually produces insulin, and what it does is that it converts it into a storage. Now, yes, three factors in the sense of what insulin does. Okay, number one, obviously it removes the excess blood sugar, which is your glucose. Okay, now bear in mind that we don't actually use a lot of glucose when we are sitting down. So sedentary lifestyle causes the blood sugar not to be used, and obviously this glucose is dangerous to our system. So more insulin then subsequently produced in order then to convert the excess glucose into what we call glycogen. So glycogen is a storage from glucose. Okay, so obviously, again, because of a sedentary lifestyle, very much research have shown that, majority of us are 16 hours a day. Okay, so because of that reason, it cannot cope, and also the limit for glycogen storage in our system is very limited. So therefore, the insulin then produces much more, and it converts this excess glucose into fat. So bear in mind that half a day of the glucose, okay, is not the same as, the fat compound, where it actually takes longer to break, harder to break. Okay, so if you look at the kilocalories of glycogen versus fat, if you look at that, the liver glycogen is roughly 300 kilocalories. The muscle glycogen is roughly about 2,000 kilocalories. The muscle's triglyceride, which is the fat content of the muscle, is 4,000, nearly double. And then if you look at adipose tissue, so these are the excess fat that actually hangs around in our body, look at how many kilocalories is that. So in order to burn that, you have to do a lot of exercise, bear in mind, okay? And then glucose obviously only carries around 40 kilocalories, which is the amount equivalent of the glucose being digested, okay? So because of this, I want to talk about obesity, the old and the forgotten pandemic. So now we talk about COVID-19. Obesity is way ahead of everything else. It's in fact started nearly 2 decades ago. Obviously, America has the worst outcome of the obesity in the country, followed by UK, and then obviously Ireland is following the trend. It's all down to processed food that we eat, and also less exercise going forward. Okay, so this happened during obesity. So early on, I talked about excess glucose in your system through insulin is converted into a good storage called glycogen. Because there's only limited space to carry the glycogen, the rest of them are converted into fat. So this is where it comes in. It's obesity, mainly central obesity, which is happening sitting around you, causes 7 different types of cancer. So breast cancer is one of them, womb cancer, and bowel cancer is linked into 20% of that cancer because of the nutrition that we eat, lack of exercise. So it's all interlinked between, nutrition, obesity, and also lack of exercise. So it's lifestyles precipitation that causes this, okay? It shortens your life expectancy overall, obviously. It also causes your chronic disease, such as your heart disease, your type 2 diabetes. Remember, going back to the insulin, okay? Too much of insulin, then it becomes resistant. When you have an insulin resistant, then here comes with the type 2 diabetes. Cancer, psychological problem, harder to move around, we feel down, we have low self-esteem when we feel big, in that sense. When you are actually carrying so much weight in you, your joints becomes the issue, and then obviously impacted with high blood pressure. Okay, so this is the Irish demographic of where we are at the moment in obesity. Okay, as I said to you, the old and forgotten pandemic. Now bear in mind that with COVID-19, a lot of us has more into isolation, self-distancing, less going out, less activities as an outdoor. Okay, this is what happened. So it becomes actually much worse. Even though that now we're finding one pandemic, which is an acute pandemic, it happens suddenly, but this is ongoing and it's going to have a much worse outcome in the future. Okay, so 1 in 4 children is actually overweight or obese. That is significant. Gone back about 12, 14 years ago, it is very, very unlikely for me to see a 14-year-old suffering from type 2 diabetes. I'm not talking about type 1. Okay, type 1 is usually due to immunity, and then it causes insulin deficiency or no insulin at all. Type 2 diabetes is insulin resistant. That means that there is still insulin produced, but they're not sensitive towards the glucose and convert into it. Okay, imagine that your kids at 14 years old or 12 years old have type 2 diabetes. They're going to come across a heart disease, cancer at the earliest stage of life. This is actually scary, and people don't actually think about it. Okay, 6 in 10 adults, us, are actually overweight or obese. Okay, pregnancy, 1 in every 2nd woman now actually have obesity at their booking clinic. Okay, Enhanced obesity linked with gestational diabetes as well. So if you think about that, and gestational diabetes, even though that after the pregnancy they might revert to normal, but that precipitate them having the risk of getting type 2 diabetes further on in life. Okay, 3 in 4 adults over 50 years of age are actually obese or overweight. Okay, that is actually a pandemic itself, as I said, is a bigger issue at the overall because it causes chronic issues, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, joint issues, and obviously your comorbid mortalities in the way of your emotional point of view. Right, so what can you do? Simple. Number one, we want to make sure your body mass index, BMI. There is a BMI calculator you can get on the internet, BMI calculator.ie. You put in your weight, you put in your height, whether it is in metrics or non-metrics, it will give you your BMI. Normal point of view is 18.5 to 24.9. 25 and above is overweight, 30 onwards is obese, 35 or above is second class of severe obesity. Okay, so you want to achieve between 18.5 to 24.9. What else? I talk about central obesity much more important regardless of general obesity point of view, but central obesity because there's so much adipose tissue or fat surrounding the main, and bear in mind that central obesity is much difficult to get rid of that fat, okay, around your waist. So you actually need, for men perspective, you need to have your waist circumference less than 94 centimeter in order to be at no risk. And for female point of view, you need to be 80 centimeter and below for actually no risk. So as you can see, if you're a man, over 102 is a great increase of risk. And for female, if you're over 88 is a great increase of risk. Okay, what else? We do not want to be couch potato. So back on to the 2 weeks ago webinar of exercise, this is what you need to do. This is very simple and it's not rocket science. Bear in mind what you eat, you need an output to be equivalent to have to maintain the weight. If you eat more and you do less, you're going to have a positive balance. Hence, it's all going to be converted into storage, whether is it glycogen or fat, okay? And you will actually gain weight. If you eat slightly less and you do a lot of exercise, okay, you will actually overuse the energy and burn a lot of those fat away. So hence, you will have weight loss. So please do not be a couch potato. Just get up and do some exercise. Right. So this is your balanced intake. You can get a better picture on a safefood.ie. Okay. I give you this picture is because it's so much easier to look at. If you separate the plate into 1/3, the 1/3 of that is your carbohydrate. So it's the main source of your main energy that we need. And bear in mind that we need this every day to function. Okay. So your pasta and your potatoes are not vegetables. Remember that, please. Okay, and your bread. And obviously, white versus brown. Why is so important? Brown is much more difficult to digest. It takes much more energy to break down that brown content of that particular food. So wheat, for example, okay, compared to the white type of carbohydrate. Okay, so your brown bread is much better than your white bread. Your brown pasta is much better than your normal pasta, etc. Because that actually makes it more difficult to digest, more fiber in there, and on the same time as well, the releasing of the sudden sugar into the system after the breaking process, it is actually slightly slower compared to the white component of it. Okay, and go back to the bottom third of it is your 5 a day. So you know your fruit and veg, extremely important. Okay, bear in mind that when you eat vegetables, there is less of a glucose to be carried around, okay? But fruits itself is high content in sugar. So the digestion point of fruits, you becomes fructose. Fructose is a type of sugar. It's a different molecules towards glucose, but it is also sugar. So usually I say to people, eat as much vegetables as you want because it's loaded with a lot of multivitamins and minerals and also antioxidants to mop up all the free radicals in your system to prevent cancer, okay? But you mind yourself, mindful in sense of your fruits because that they are sugar as an end product, okay? But you do need them because they're packed with, loads of vitamins that you need. Right, the top well, not even a third of it, will be all your protein and your dairy products. It's extremely important because your protein, as I said, it helps you to build the cells and repair the cells, okay, that is actually damaged. And you need the dairy products for your bone. It's main huge consistency. And bear in mind, those of the dairy products has a high richness in vitamin D, which is needed for the bone point of view. Okay, so you do need your protein, and I would usually say to people, for anybody who takes meat, you have to be careful. There is a research out already, high consumption of processed red meat. So processed red meat, sausages, bacon, ham, okay, salami, prosciutto. So those are all processed red meat. Anything that goes through the machine have been processed and lasts longer, they are processed red meat. Even though the mince and burger are processed if you get it from the supermarket. But if you buy a normal mince from butcher, okay, they are not processed because they have no additives that actually makes them last longer on the shelves. All right. So processed red meat and red meat has an increased risk of bowel cancer. Okay, this research is well known. So usually I will say to people, is 500 grams of red meats per week is plenty. You can substitute those then with the other proteins such as white meat, fish, really important, 1 to 2 portions of oily fish. So that will be your salmon, mackerel, herring, tuna. I'm missing one of them when you come to me. So that actually oily fish is actually good for the heart. It has main source of brain cells development. Okay, so those all can be. So if you have a whole week of it, I would say 1 to 2 days of red meat, and the rest of them are substitute between white meat and also the fish. Okay, and then obviously your dairy products comes in. Your dairy products will be your eggs, your yogurt, your cheese, and your milk. Okay, now we are all human, we all need living, so obviously you also have a smaller portion of what I call the treats, and these are actually minority of portions. Certain people get a treat a day, certain people get 2 treats within a week. Okay, so if you have a small family like me, when you have a treat, your kids have a treat. So in a sense of its obedient point of view, it's much easier, because that if you don't eat a lot of these treats or a lot of unhealthy food, then your kids will not follow. So you early on see 1 in every 4 kids are actually overweight or obese. So we do have a duty of care. We do have a responsibility towards our children in what they eat, especially on the age where they can still say that, when we are the main guardian of what kind of food that we serve them. Okay, so I'm done in that sense. Any question, guys?
I'll kick off the questions, Dr. May, and that was really useful. Thank you so much. I think a challenge a lot of people have now with working from home in the new environment is you're probably snacking a lot more than you would normally do. And I know certainly later in the evening when you probably put the laptop away and you're back relaxing with the family or whatever, you tend, well, certainly I'm speaking for myself, tend to snack too much. Any advice on how to stop that? I even know when I'm doing it that I shouldn't be doing it, but it's like.
Yeah, so it's mainly due to habit. You're correctly say so, Dorothy, right? Usually I say to people, I don't take 3 meals a day, I take 5. Okay, breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, and then dinner. All right. And the reason for that is that, okay, so what happened when you have long period of fasting and then suddenly you go to your cupboard? You tend to pick, okay? So you become hungry and angry. So hangry, I call it. So when you have that situation, you're more likely to crave for sugar stuff. So your chocolates, your biscuits, your crisps, or anything that high sugar that give you that good satisfaction, because as a matter of fact that this is a human body nature that they want something quick fix, so quick loaded in glucose. And early on I said already, things that easily digested, like your sweets, it goes straight into your bloodstream, so it doesn't actually need so much of energy to digest anything in the first place. Okay, so what I usually say to you, your snack is not like a dinner or anything else. So a smaller portion of like nuts, it will be good, or even carrots, or even raw carrots, hummus, anything that's actually quite good in a sense. So once in a while, you might have a small little dairy milk of a bar. Now, bear in mind that, you have to be mindful what you eat. It's very difficult. You have to build a relationship with food to start off with. You have to understand them. The more you understand, the more that you know that what you're eating. Okay, so if you eat 5 meals a day, like the way I do, your blood sugar will stay constant, so you don't have the dip. Once you don't have the dip in that sense, you will not crave for something sweet. So when you don't crave for something sweet, you don't feel hungry. When you don't feel hungry, it doesn't then suddenly making you eat a lot of food. Does it make sense? So it's also good slow food that you eat, even a snack point of view, can slowly releases that sugar and also stop that craving of high sugar food. Okay, so you can snack. There's not an issue of snacking in that sense, but it's what you eat and what you put into your mouth is extremely important. So if you actually get slices of carrots and you snack the carrots, that's not going to make any impact on you. You're still eating, okay? It still fills you up, okay? But calorie point of view and how it converts it into sugar and also storage, obviously you're not going to be converted, into fat like the rest of it if you start having a donut versus your carrots. Okay, so it's just being mindful of what you eat, and they're all down to the routine that you have. And the more routine you get used to it, the more relationship you have with your food, the more you understand what it does to your body.
And a question then, Dr. May, I know there's been a lot of press around the increase in alcohol sales since COVID-19 has hit these shores. Have you any advice on that in terms of limits and what people should or should not be doing?
Yes, so alcohol limits I'm talking about Irish population, okay? Because in UK, the standard drink for UK is 14 units. Different country has a different standard drinks prospectively, but in Ireland, based on the European Cardiology Society, that what kind of limit of alcohol is good for you. So for men, it's less than 17 units a week. Okay, for female, it's less than 11 units a week. Now, bear in mind, if you drink 6 units, and I'm going to explain to you that what 6 units contain of as a general measure, okay? That by WHO, the World Health Organization criteria, that is binge drinking. Okay, so what is one standard drink on 1 unit? Half a pint is 1 unit. Now, as a general, okay, your shots of that pub measure, the small little thing that they measure to drink alcohol, one of those is 1 unit. So whiskey, gin, what you call vodka, brandy, so those are all 1 unit. A small little glass of wine, not the fancy one that you get in a restaurant, okay, about that much and about that small, that is roughly about also 1 unit. And it is all based on the standard unit or the standard drink or the standard unit is actually based on the content of alcohol in that particular drink. If you have people from drinkaware.ie to come and give you a synopsis about how much unit is in a pint, there is literally 16 to 24 ways of measuring a pint, because different brand has a different content of that alcohol in that drink. Okay, but I'm going to give you only that general how you measure one. So on a rough estimation, a pint or half a pint is 1 unit, 1 pint is 2 units.
Okay, we forgot about our poll, Dr. May. Did you want to run that quickly now before we close out? I'm conscious of time. Neve, if you want to.
Yeah, I'll put that up now. So that should be on people's screens now if they'd like to just kind of engage with the question there.
Thanks, Neve.
30 seconds.
And Dr. May, a copy of this presentation, we'll put it up on our events page if people want to access it afterwards, because I think visually it's good to see in terms of the split of the different carbohydrates, proteins, etc.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the whole thing is like so from the poll when Neve launched that poll.
Yeah, it's just there now. We just give it another minute for it to get everybody's answer.
Yeah, there's some answers coming in. Just give it another 10 seconds or so.
Great. Sean is saying he's having a problem voting there now, Neve. I don't know whether there's a problem with the link.
There are answers coming in, I think. So it's
okay.
I don't know. I'll look into that and why you might be having the issue, Sean, afterwards. I'll just close now and share our answers.
Okay. So you might not see this, Dr. May. So 17% are saying I have a balanced, healthy diet, and 83% are saying I could be doing better with my nutrition.
Right. So guys, I have one thing I always want to give back to society. If you have anything that I could help, Neve is going to launch my email address for you. Feel free to email me. Now, bear in mind, I cannot treat you. Bear in mind, I cannot diagnose you, but I can signpost you in a sense of what you can do. So I've done a lot of kind of like a health management clinic with you know, a lot of our own clients in VHI, and they find it extremely benefit. It's all how do you stick it. Understanding your food is so important, because the more you understand your food, the much more you are, you know, aware of what you eat. And bear in mind that, you know, there are things that people say that, oh, shall I count my calories? Counting calories is quite a bad move to start off with, because it actually doesn't, you know, have that direct link of, you know, how much you eat and how much you have. The main important is all down to nutrition, and obviously balanced by exercise. Okay, so if you, any of you that decided that, you know, okay, I can do better, the 83%, I am more than happy to help. So if you want to email me personally on that email.
I put your email in the chat there so people can copy it if they want to.
Yeah, so that is the DCO email. So go ahead and email me, and I will get back to you, and we can have like a brief chat or whatever suits for you, you know, in a sense of like for follow up. But I'm more than happy to help. So right, the 2 weeks time, Dorothy, we're going to do a brief emotional one. I know that you guys do a lot of mindfulness, you guys do a lot of meditation, whatever, webinars, but the next session one, because the people want slightly but emotional, I'll be talking a little bit about why mindfulness is important, why meditation, what are the benefits from medical research perspective, okay? And also resilience aspect of things. Is how the way you think about it, is how the way you reflect back into your own life. Okay, so hopefully that will help. So in 2 weeks time, that webinars will be basically touch on the emotional aspect of well-being.
Brilliant, that's great. Thank you so much as always, Dr. May. I'm conscious we're just barely gone over the time, so thanks as always. Thanks to Neve, and thanks to everybody who was involved, and certainly anybody that didn't capture the details there in the chat. If they want to get in touch with me, I can share Dr. May's details. I know she'll have no problem with that. And just to say, Friday's Ask the Expert webinar is Owen McDermott of the Communications Clinic, and he's going to talk about communicating in a working from home environment, how to make presentations, how to get your message across. And I think it'll be a very useful webinar. So please do tune in for that. All the details are up on the website. But Dr. May, thank you. We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks, and thanks for all that great advice today.
Yeah, tell Owen I say hello. I remember the last time I met him in the CCMA, he was the DJ then.
Yes. Okay, great.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Dorothy. Bye-bye. Thank you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.